The media. On behalf of Adani Group, let me welcome you to Aero India 2025. It's a pleasure and honor to interact with the friends from the media this afternoon. Industry is buzzing with energy and optimism. The commitment of the Indian policymakers to make in India is real. But before we talk about the capabilities which Adani is facing here, it's important to reflect why these capabilities are important for the country. In the last couple of months, everyone has discussed Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas, the conflicts happening in Eastern Europe, in the Middle East. But what we need to do is go a little bit deeper. Why these capabilities are important to India, let me outline 2 or 3 use cases which are based on the learnings from the conflicts which happened in the last 3 months, in the last 3 years. Every country has to be ready for prolonged conflicts. The time of a 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 years conflict is gone. What we have seen in the case of Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas, that a country needs to have sustainable capabilities over multiple years. Number one, strategic munitions, like the long-range missiles, are something which have limited utility in conflicts. What came out was low-cost, innovative, highly competitive solutions to the user. So rather than talking about 12 or 15 strategic platforms being produced every year, how do we produce 100,000 drones, 200,000 FPVs becomes very, very critical. And not only in the case of drones, in the case of artillery ammunition, in the case of missiles, in the case of even decentralized command and control center and electronic warfare. Surveillance more important than offensive capabilities. What we saw was a 24/7 surveillance which happened in the war in the Eastern Europe, making it very difficult for someone to recruit and break the barriers. So how do you enhance these surveillance capabilities across aerial and ground is again a very important learning from these conflicts. Air defense system, and these are not the centralized air system, but the distributed air defense system, something like an electronic warfare for anti-drones, any kind of incoming threat, is another learning which came out of these conflicts. So rather than saying we need a single central command control center, how to have something which is highly distributed and available at the command level. And number 5, very important, is the integration of cyber, artificial intelligence, machine learning into each of these platforms. These wars were not only about person management. These perceptions were actually shaped using cyber as a very important tool in terms of how and why people are going to side with one or the other people. So what you're going to witness, the wars are going to move more from the platforms into intelligence and data mining. And when you start combining these 4 or 5 lessons learned, is exactly what you're going to see around in Adani Defence and Aerospace. On the right side, do we stay here or we move? On the right side, we have our IR capabilities, all the way from a micro, nano drones, all the way to strategic mail, is a full portfolio Adani is showcasing in Aero India 2025. Most importantly, over the last years, the degree of indigenization, the degree of confidence in terms of working with the partners and ecosystem has just doubled and tripled. In the last 2 years, we have been delivering these platforms to Indian Army, Indian Navy, and also the Special Forces. The second part of is the full portfolio on kamikaze loitering munition. Again, what came out was how do you combine your aerial capabilities with ammunition and give country low cost, high volume, lethal kamikaze drones. Getting from tactical 2 kgs all the way to 25 kg payload is what we have showcased in Aero India 2025. On the extreme end, going back to ISR, the electronic warfare in terms of detecting any kind of flying objects is what we have showcased working with the drone warfare which we are discussing, and how do you have detection of nano, micro, mini drones coming from 17 to 20 kilometers and being neutralized either through electronic kill, which is a jammer, or through a hard kill, laser kill, 800 meters is what we are showcasing. The more important thing, the system has already been inducted by Border Security Force. What we have showcased is a modular system which can be moved within 15 minutes from one location to the other and take care of any illegal threats. On the left side is what we have with us. Today we have a partner of DRDO when it comes to DCPP, Development Production Partner Module on missiles. All the way from short range 2.5 kilometers dual PGM, launched from a drone, a flying platform, going up to hypersonic Rudram 2. Adani is working day in and day out with DRDO to make this happen. There are 250 engineers of Adani who are working with DRDO on co-development, co-design programs in the missile domain. Along with that, what we have also showcased are the range extension kits, very important as a capability to extend the capability of our dumb bombs going up to 80 to 100 kilometers. We move further left, we have the full showcase of our arms and ammunition. One of the largest investments we've done in Kanpur. We have the full portfolio of small caliber, medium caliber, and caliber ammunition, which is going to be done in India. A strategic capability which was showcased and also became very evident in the conflicts in the Middle East. How do you sustain your ammunition supply over multi-weeks, multi-months, multi-years? Small caliber ammunition, 5.62 already operational and the last which is going to be operational in the next 5 months. Medium caliber 23, 30, going to be operational next year. Largest complexes, over 700 acres in Kanpur, is going to be a national treasure for India. Further on, we have the small arms portfolio. Over the last 7 years, we are producing end-to-end every small in the country. From 9mm pistol, all the way gun, sniper, including the raw being consumed from today. We are supplying to Indian Army, we are supplying to Indian Navy, we are supplying to Indian Navies, and to the special forces within the country. Further on the left, what we're going to see is one of our innovative and a very important capability. Which is important for Army, Navy, it's on contract with the Tri Services, in which we're working on Agnika, which is 7 kilometers man-pad, shoulder-fired, surface-to-air missile. We're working on the design program in Indian Navy that turret missile system on every ship, every carrier. Just behind me, what you're seeing is one of the most important control center. For the first time, we are showcasing AI artificial intelligence. So it's platform agnostic. This is not about Z, but the whole data feed can go from AI in a box. And in no time, this whole module, which is based on deep learning computer vision, based on someone wants to see a specific target which is important in the water, and this AI module can actually help you out in give you an intelligent outcome. Why is it important? Because data, every platform which is flying on the ground in the naval domain is actually producing data. But if you don't the right algorithms to mine this data and give insights for our customers. This will all be post-mortem of this data many months, many years later. So the whole AI will model to showcase, and we are showcasing to our customers in Aero India. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we are happy to move you and showcase the real. Sorry, can you just repeat the question? So the question is, how will satellites start playing a role in intelligence and surveillance? It's important that we should not be looking at intelligence surveillance as anything which can provide intelligence in real time to the forces, and it can come from a combination of satellites, it can come from a combination of apps platform, it can come from drone underwater vehicles. The most important aspect are platforms are okay. We're talking about NDR, we are talking about LN, we are talking about Sky, more advanced any kind of so in terms of the way to the long land border what the country has and the neighborhood, the service mail platform is going to be a key capability which is also being discussed with the user. Over the last couple of years, you are better aware, we moved from 114 to 97 as one of the emerging requirements. Over the last years, Manu, is we have set up a local which is doing end-to-end within the country except the engine. So the next point can be informed by Indian to IDDM. What Adani has done in October of 2024, we have actually offered an IDDM solution to the armed forces. So from our perspective, the only part which is missing is engine, as I mentioned earlier, and the part which is missing is some of the advanced payloads. But as and when we move the ecosystem, that will also happen. Drone SATCOM. So the drone SATCOM is already operational in our platforms. What is drone SATCOM? You don't want to restrict yourself in terms of the range. That the drone should not be restricted, that it will only fly 200 kilometers or 300 kilometers. Satellite communication allows you to take your drone or the flying platform to unlimited range. What you're going to see both in our loitering and the drone platform, everything is SATCOM based. The drone from Porbandar, control it from Guwahati, and take it all the way to Jammu and Kashmir.
There is no denying fact that Adani Group is facing political onslaught targeted campaign against you. How this campaign political negative publicity is hitting you, and how you plan to counter this negative publicity?
So, see, I'm not going to talk about the politics of the whole conversation. What's important is the need in the country today is real. We have committed ourselves that to work with the Triforce and set up world-class capabilities to address the emerging requirements. The backlash will keep happening, but what's important is we need to maintain the highest quality standards. We need to ensure we are able to bring down the cost for the customer from an end user perspective, and more importantly, keep doing the innovation, which is important to keep us ahead of any kind of warfare requirements in the future. What the customers have seen in the last 5 years, that we have met each and every aspect of what I just mentioned on quality, time, cost, and innovation. So I think it's for the results to speak for ourselves rather than talking about how the political people perceive the situation.
So it's not hitting you.
Okay. See, great question, and you know the answer better than me. On 1st of February, when the budget was announced, $1 billion of spend happening annually by the Indian government on defense expenditure. Of that $80 billion, $20 billion has been kept aside for capital acquisition. Of the $20 billion, $15 billion is into new capital, which is going to be done every year by the Tri-Service Special Forces. For the first time, of the $20 billion, 75% has been earmarked for the industry. So we're talking about $15 billion of procurement, which should happen from Indian ecosystem. Multiply this with $50 to $1 billion market in terms of the key requirements for Indian armed forces. Today, when you look at the depth of our Today, when you look at the depth of our tier 1 and the tier 3 supplies, is anyone in a situation to deliver $300 billion worth of equipment? Answer is no. So I don't see this to be a demand side challenge. The challenge is going to be supply side. The challenge is going to be quality. The challenge is going to be innovation. See, that's why I'm saying it's a supply side issue. In the last 5 years, we have operationalized 6 locations across Kanpur, Gwalior, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and very recently with the acquisition of Airworks, Hosur and Kochi. We've already invested 5,000 crores in these 5 years. And as a group, we have committed another $1 billion in the next 4 years. So it's just the speed of execution what matters to us. And then, you know, the policies within the country. The faster the contracts can be given out, the faster we can deliver. But we're not going to restrict ourselves just to the Indian market. There's a vision of how do you diversify, go into the international market, and hence we're going to focus both on India and the global exports. So when you look at the portfolio of payloads, it can go from optic IR payloads all the way to very advanced MPR LN payloads. Electro-optic IR payloads have already been indigenized with Bharat Electronics. So they are one of our key suppliers for the mail platform. The platform which we are supplying to Tri Services already include well-supplied indigenous payloads. But tomorrow you want to say, I want to have, for example, foliage penetration radar, yeah, because of the Naxalites. So that's a payload which is being developed. Even in the global markets, you don't have a proven solution. Tomorrow you want to put a mine detection system on a drone, and rather than sending people, you are sending drones for mine detection. That is a payload which is still under development for example. So there is no end in terms of the mission and the use cases. You can actually go and do the payments.
We have weapons also for those days.
Absolutely.
How do you begin this sort of time?
All the small arms and missiles what you see are indigenous. It's a system of systems what we have to develop, and the system integration can be done.
We're left to put out a different separate time. Congratulations. So, I got a question. Most of the objective of these have been through acquisitions. Have been acquisitions last few years. What is the big strategy behind these acquisitions? Why have you invested in these sort of technologies at this point? The related question is, what is your R&D spending? R&D spending. Adani's R&D spending.
Happy to. So, on the first question, I'll say our strategy has straddled across organic, inorganic, and co-development. And let me give you examples. Our facility in Kanpur is a pure organic greenfield facility which was done in 18 months between August 23 and March 24. For the first time in the country, an integrated ammunition complex has been established, completely 100% Adani, no dependence on any third party. Backward integrated into bullets, cases, cups, and now we are also going into primer and propellant to ensure we don't have to import anything from outside. The second example of organic is Hyderabad. We were the first one to set up the organic capability on unmanned systems, electronic warfare, and now loitering munition. The acquisition which we did was small arms with Kunj Lloyd, that is in Gwalior. When we did the acquisition, it was more a component manufacturing company. And now having imbibed critical technologies of barrel, receiver assembly, board, it is a true system integrator of small arms. The last acquisition is Airworks, because there's a de facto 3 to 4 years time in terms of taking the licenses, and the potential of both civil and defense MRO is significant in the country. So it's a mixed strategy what we are doing. On the other point around R&D, one of the largest portfolios behind you is actually a R&D portfolio and a co-development portfolio with DRDO. 2019, thanks to the policymakers, they kickstarted this program. They kickstarted this program called Development and Production Partner. That how do you create public-private partnership, leveraging the best of the capabilities in the public and the private domain. And hence, all the missile programs which you are seeing, these are more than 250 people who are working from Adani, making things happen. Within 12 months, that ULPGM was something which was integrated by Indian Army.
What is your percentage of R&D spending?
Today, when I'm talking about the three parts of the portfolio, almost 25% of our portfolio is co-development and innovation. Crosshair, vehicle-mounted counter-drone system are all examples of innovation.
Yeah. Last two questions. Sticking to the R&D, you just mentioned so many types of defense service companies, various different domains of defense. So it seems that Adani wants to do almost everything. So going forward, as there will be consolidation of technology and scope, how do you see? Because globally, there are very few companies who have capabilities on small sector. So do you think, are you stretching it, or do you have any plan where you want to consolidate further?
So there are three key capabilities what I discussed we focus on. The first capability is everything around ISR. And intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance is very broad. What you're seeing just behind is an underwater autonomous vehicle, all the way from aerial vehicle and also unmanned ground vehicles. And it's a network of these equipment which is going to provide you the right intelligence, even integrated with satellites in the future. The second capability is what we're calling offensive, between missiles, arms, and ammunition. And the third, what we discussed just behind, is how do you bring artificial intelligence, machine learning, and cyber. So it's only three of us. The three capabilities what we're going to focus on. So it's not the trying to do everything because we're not a believer of spreading ourselves too thin, but focus on key areas and go deeper.
Just half a second. Going forward, so some of these capabilities will diversify as the technology progresses. How do you see that for a challenge?
There's no challenge. See, what we're talking about is a technology domain. And if you don't keep yourself updated in terms of bringing in new innovation, when we started, the whole area around missiles, for example. Everyone was talking strategic, intercontinental, long-range missiles. And one of the biggest innovation which came was ULPGA. How do you mount a missile on a quadcopter, which can go under the radar and take out short-range targets? So this is a continuous evolution which is going to keep happening. You need to have the team which is spread across greenfield innovation, brownfield innovation, and manufacturing to make this ecosystem a sustainable ecosystem.
Hi, Sarah Beth from Economic Times.
Closer, closer.
So can you speak more to the cybersecurity threat that you mentioned and what infrastructure is being developed to combat it?
See, cybersecurity is something which is not only relevant to Adani, but to the country as a whole. This is a domain and an expertise area which trial services, policymakers have become very cognizant of. And there are multiple cells which have been set up by Army, Navy, Air Force. That how do you protect not only your own assets, but also your bases. The war is not limited to, for example, we're talking about counter ammunition. It's not limited to that. Even my power plant, our nuclear power complex, any airport also becomes a target of cyber. And things can happen which are going to go out of control very, very fast. So it's almost taking an India strategy on cyber and how do you start creating those bubbles of protection for these critical assets. This is going to be a combination of electronic warfare. There's going to be a combination of putting up a team of 1,000 people who are continuously monitoring the incoming threats which are happening through internet, IoT, XYZ. Because more we are becoming electronically savvy, the more these threats are increasing. You talk about WhatsApp, we are getting a note every day. Don't do confidential conversation, don't send anything which is important on WhatsApp. So it's part of digitization.
Also, do you see AI playing a role for or against the security threat?
Both.
Both, right?
See, yeah, we moved from wheel to the steam engine to the aeroplanes,
Yeah.
and we can always say life became more easy or more difficult. It's a question to ask.
The last
So, on the first question, when you get into end-to-end indigenization, you have to be ready for these risks. Yeah, these are not like ready platforms. When the transfer of technology takes place, it's very important that your people, your processes, your quality standards are completely aligned, and hence we have actually given extended time frame for doing the testing at the customer side. As you know, this was still within the purview of Adani. What's important is we stand behind the customer. We are going to replace the platform in the next 3 to 4 months. That's not a problem. But this also shows the commitment behind the platform, behind the customer, and saying that anything which happens either in warranty or outside warranty will take care for the customer. So not a problem. The second one was so Drishti 10 of the record is something which has hard points and a belly, and you can integrate something like ULPGM and any other air to air or air to surface to air to surface missile.
Actually, it's good to meet you.
Thank you so much.